Hello and welcome to Mekelle Foresight. This is Mekelle, producer and host of the show. Ethiopia, home to nearly 1 million refugees and giving protection to refugees from around 26 countries, is now experiencing its own exodus of refugees due to the ongoing war unleashed by Abiy Ahmed and Isaias Afwerki. And what is the state of affairs of refugees? With me here today is Professor Kinfa Abraha, who is demographer and also director of the Institute of Population Studies at Mekelle University. Professor Kinfa, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Mekelle.
How concerning is the state of refugees in Ethiopia and the refugee crisis due to the war, the ongoing war?
As we know, the three main demographic variables are fertility, mortality, and migration. Throughout history, people have been migrating from one area to the other. Some of them due to pull factors at the place of origin, and many of them due to pull factors from place of destination and push factors from place of origin. Nowadays, mainly in the last 2 decades, the trends and volume of migration was dramatically changing. The number is increasing. The route of migration is also changing from time to time. This is true throughout the world, but is more valid in the Horn of Africa, where Ethiopia is located. As we all know, currently the global migrant population has reached 272 million people, and it has increased by 99 million in the last 2 decades only. And this is very alarming, and what makes it very alarming is that most of them are migrating due to push factors at the place of origin. In fact, since most of it is an irregular migration, many studies show that the number can even be more than the estimated one. Ethiopia is a country of human origin, as we all know. Is also a country of ancient civilization, but in relation to migration, it has its own long-standing history. As we all know, the members of the founders of the Islamic religion in Mecca faced some problems in their country, and during that time, Prophet Muhammad advised them to seek refuge in Ethiopia for 2 main reasons. And the justifications that he said is, first, the king of Aksum will not tolerate injustice. And second is, the country, Aksumite civilization of that time, is friendly country. So they migrated to Ethiopia, and they were welcomed by the king of that time. But more than that, the people, the general population, gave them land to construct houses and also build mosques and so on. Since that time, Ethiopia is following an open door policy for refugees from wherever they come and so on. But in recent years, in the last 2 decades, it was more institutionalized, and we have a refugee proclamation, and which was developed in 2004, which was mainly result of the 1951 convention relating to the status of refugees, and it incorporates the 1967 protocol and 1969 OAU convention. But in 2019, it was updated, and we were having, I can say, the best refugee proclamation in Africa, which allows or provides the refugee with so many rights, such as to work and reside, access to social services, financial services. They can open bank account, they can get registered the vital events and so on. So due to this, Ethiopia in general was hosting 905,000 refugees at the beginning of 2019, and a part of them were in Tigray, the Eritrean refugees, and not less than 250,000 We have about 90,000 in the refugee camps, in 4 of the refugee camps. We have thousands in around Cherraro, which were not accepted by the UNHCR. And we have so many thousands of refugees, in fact double of what the data in the refugee camps is, and in out of camp policy. So in almost all towns and urban areas of Tigray, we have thousands of Eritrean refugees just living because they feel that they are at home. But following the peaceful dealing between Isaias and many politicians and diplomats were saying that we don't know what they really have agreed in the peace dealing processes. And one of the orders given by Isaias to Abiy Ahmed was to abolish the refugee camps. In fact, 4 points were given as an assignment, and one of them is to abolish the refugee camps in Tigray, which includes Huzaz, Ma'aini, Ad-Harush, and the oldest camp in around Cherraro. In fact, Abiy Ahmed sent a message to the Arab people, Administration for Refugee and Returning Affairs at Shire, and they asked him to put it on paper. In fact, UNHCR also didn't accept the order, and mainly the people and government of Tigray strongly resisted that they cannot go back to Eritrea because of the political situation in Eritrea. And in fact, it was very threatening, and there were so many trials to cut budget to the refugees and so on through the international organizations and humanitarian organizations and so on. But whatever, for example, there are some 500 refugees at Cherraro. The Ethiopian government ordered the UNHCR not to accept these refugees. They are refugees, but they were not allowed to get the status of refugees by the UNHCR, mainly due to the order of Abiy Ahmed, which was an instruction given from the side of Isaias. So the people of Tigray, the government, were budgeting, and in fact the Eritreans abroad, mainly in the Netherlands, have contributed much to it. For example, at one time they sent about 17,700 euros to feed these people, which was to be a mandate of the international organizations. This is a human crisis. And nowadays, as we all know, there is insecurity throughout the nation, and we can say that the 905 or around 1 million refugees in Ethiopia are at risk, and they are exposed to risk of secondary migration. They are migrants. They were hosted in Ethiopia. The value system of Ethiopia in general, and that of Tigray, as we all know, is welcoming to any refugee, whatever the background may be. But starting from in the last 2 years, as I said, and mainly in the last, starting from the month of November, there is a war in Tigray, which is coordinated by Abiy Ahmed and Isaias Afwerki. And I do believe, in fact, we have strong evidences that one of the main reasons for the joint operation between Abiy and Isaias is to abolish these refugee camps also. And they are mainly concentrating in the northwestern region of Tigray, where the 4 camps are located, and the Tigray government and the people of Tigray are protecting them. They are protecting themselves, and they are, in the same token, they are also protecting the lives of the refugees.
What impact is this security problem, which has escalated and is now an open conflict? What impact is it having on the local population and also the refugees?
Yeah, To the local population, I think in the last 2.5 years, there were so many problems, but as we said, it's starting from April 2018, when Abiy Ahmed came to power. There were informal and sometimes formal relationship between Isaias and Abiy, and mainly the government, Abiy Ahmed, was denying basic rights that the people are entitled as citizens of Ethiopia, and different forms of discriminatory measures were taken to the Tigray people, and in fact it criminalized the people of Tigray in general. It defies the history, the value system of Tigray, spoiling the good name of the people, and it's more of genocidal acts, and you can easily observe it from the media that we are watching on daily basis, that are the media that are owned by the government. So the overall situation is, I think, the lives of the host community is at risk, and it's not a fighting with the TPLF. The many cultural heritages which existed in Tigray were not constructed by TPLF, but the Abiy Ahmed's government is attacking this historical and cultural heritages. Like the bombing, the jet of Isaias bombarded or attacked the ancient churches in Mekelle, in which many manuscripts are existing. The wisdoms of our ancestors exist there. In fact, they are not properties of the Tigray people only, they are properties of humanity in general. So I can say that this war is a crime against humanity. So it attacks the host community, and it attacks also the refugees. In fact, at the beginning of the peace agreement, most of the refugees were running away of Ethiopia because they know what Isaias is planning to do. And it is with the strong involvement of the government of Tigray they started to stay there. And now, unless and otherwise strong intervention is made, I do believe that the lives of the 905 refugees in Ethiopia in general, and especially that of Eritrean refugees who are living in Tigray, will be no problem. In fact, it's a threat to the whole Tigrayan people. So they will face the same problem. The Tigrayan people and the Tigray government are trying to defend themselves, but at least I think the international organizations have to clearly understand this crime against humanity.
The Center for Migration Studies, which is under the institute that you lead, has issued a letter to the international community, the European Commission and others. Would you please share the content of this letter?
Yeah, thank you. At the Mekelle University, there is an institute by the name Institute of Population Studies. It has 5 centers under it, and one of the centers is Center for Migration Studies. Overall, the objective of the institute is to integrate the existing population with the fast economic development and poverty reduction processes. And we are delivering PhD degrees in population studies, masters in migration studies, and so on. And the last 4 years, we had a research with Tilburg University, mainly in the refugee camps. And as a result, in collaboration with Professor Miriam Van Reysen from Tilburg University and professors from Great Zimbabwe University, we have published 3 books. 2 of the books were inaugurated at Aksum last year on November 2019. So we were following the overall patterns of migration in the Horn of Africa, the dynamism, and we had a responsibility to provide evidence-based information to the globe so that it can act timely before things got worst from whatever they are, or either to make preparations for the worst. Accordingly, since the start of the peace dealing process between Ethiopia and Eritrea, many professors were working on the refugee camps, as I told you, because of the interventions of Isaias. And now it has become just at the edge of the process, and we are in a war now, and this war is organized. Had it been internal situation only, you could search for political solutions, but there is an involvement, in fact, strong involvement of Isaias of Asmara, and the war is led by Abiy Ahmed of Addis Ababa. And recently we are observing that the United Arab Emirates is also getting involved. And we already know what has happened to Yemen, where there was strong involvement of the UAE. So as a research institute, we have to forecast on what may happen on tomorrow. So accordingly, because of the full-scale war against the people of Tigray and the regional government as well, we observed that if one part of humanity suffers, the other part will also be in a problem. So it is time to act in the short term. We may observe a lot of internal displacements, while thousands of people are dying almost every day, and tens of thousands, in fact more than 10,000 people are migrating to Sudan. We have official reports in that regard. So as a result of this, we are observing that in a very near future, the whole Horn of Africa will be destabilized due to this war, which was declared by the Nobel Prize winner Abiy Ahmed and Isaias Afwerki, as well as involvement of others. Mainly in relation to our institute, this will have a great impact on the demographics of the Horn and also Europe. The main thing is, because 6 different countries will be affected by this war.
Neighboring Ethiopia and Eritrea.
Neighboring countries, yeah. The Sudan, the South Sudan, Kenya to a certain extent, Somalia, Djibouti, in the very short future. And the population pyramid of these countries is it's dominated by young age population. And if you look at the socio-economic condition of these youngsters, most of them are unemployed, hopeless, and so on. And they were passing through COVID-19 problem. And in recent times again, they were attacked by the desert locust. So a lot of problems were existing in the Horn of Africa. But now there is a full-scale war which will destabilize the Horn of Africa. So we have estimated that not less than 20 million youngsters will run away of their respective places of origin. In fact, when Ethiopia was stable, 86% of the refugees were absorbed by neighboring countries. But now there is no neighboring country which will absorb all this. So the estimation that the Institute has made is at least 1 out of 4 will manage to reach Europe by whatever means to save their own lives.
Which is 5 million people.
Yeah, around 5, not less than 5 million people will arrive at Europe, in the different countries of Europe. So the European countries and the policymakers in Europe have 2 alternatives. Either they have to intervene to stop the war so that the Horn of Africa can be stable. This is a preventive measure. Or else, if they gave no response to this, no timely response, they have to get prepared to host this 5 million. In fact, the preparation shouldn't be only in allotting money. When I visited the Netherlands, I learned that if one person from Africa went to Europe, they allot 46,000 euros for 1 year, which is for more than 5 million people, it will be a huge amount of money. But more than that, the demographics in the short term and long term will also be disturbed. And the socio-economic situation, the cultural, the instability. So they have to make a holistic preparation. But as to the Institute of Population Studies, we believe that preventing this, starting from day one, just today, will be the best solution. Otherwise, trying to address, if we do not address the root cause at the place of origin, then trying to address the problems at the place of destination, and on the way, I said 5 million will arrive at Europe. I didn't explain about how many people will die on the process. We have studies on that regard also. And this really is a human crisis, and which needs to the attention of not only the European countries and the European Union, but also the globe at large, the international organizations, and the intergovernmental organizations also. This will be a tragedy of the 21st century.
So there has been calls by the government of Tigray and also the federalist forces for peace and national salvation. And even after the breakout of this open conflict, which has already gained international dimension due to the intervention of Isaias Afwerki, and also, as you said, the drone attacks by UAE. The government of Tigray have been calling also for talks, for dialogue. What can the international community do, in terms of diplomacy, throwing their weight behind this call for peace, peaceful way out of this conflict?
There were so many things that should be done till now. I do believe that we are very late in responding towards this crisis, because as I said, this is a war against humanity in general. And this is a war that is killing thousands of people in countries like Ethiopia, where most of the population are illiterate. The knowledge system, the value system, the histories, and everything is stored in the mind of the people. It's not well written. So we are destroying even the ancient civilizations that we had. As I said, they have started attacking universities. And in the bomb attack of last time, part of the compound of Mekelle University was attacked.
The aerial bombardment on Monday.
Yeah. And it's very difficult to interpret on what the target of this war is. If you are ready to attack a federal university owned by the federal government of Ethiopia, and if you are also attacking cultural heritage in which the value systems, the ancient knowledge systems, and the wisdom of the society are documented there in the form of manuscripts and other forms, then it's very difficult to explain on what the target of. Some say that it's a war between the Prosperity Party and the TPLF. As I said it earlier, it's not TPLF who constructed the Mekelle University, it's the federal government. It's not TPLF who constructed these cultural heritages, which are mostly owned by the UNESCO. So it's better to say that this is a war against humanity in general, and human beings, wherever they are located, they have to react to this. But the most powerful ones, such as the European Union and European Parliament and European Commission, as well as the governments of the United States, the diplomats, and all the international community has to stand against this war. First of all, there is no person and there is no country and there is nobody who will be benefited from this war. Even Abiy Ahmed will not be benefited from this war. Isaias Afwerki knows that he will not be benefited from this war. That is why it becomes very difficult to justify on why they declared this war. And I don't see the reason for the UAE to get involved in such a war. So there is a need for rethinking about the peaceful situations of the globe in general. If this situation continued, I think it will be a disaster next to the Second World War, because it will affect, both sides of the Red Sea are getting involved now. And there is the situation of the Great Renaissance Dam also. We don't know what the actions to be taken by some of those countries who are involved in the negotiation process also. So it's difficult to forecast what may happen on tomorrow, on humanity in general. Hence, the Ethiopian people are trying to stop the war. They are trying. And the neighboring countries have to get involved in stopping the war so that peaceful negotiations, discussions, and dialogue among all parties can start. But above all, those countries who were supporting, who had strong support to the Abiy Ahmed, which goes till, in fact, when they award him Nobel Peace Prize, if the intention was to destabilize the Horn of Africa, then I will congratulate them because they have succeeded. But it is a peace Nobel Prize. So there is a need for rethinking, even in all the institutions that we have at the globe, in the social sciences that we are having, and all the intellectuals. There are so many universities which deal with dispute resolution, peace process, and so on. And they have to act on this. At least they have to condemn on what is happening. So everybody has to be aware of what is happening in Africa in general, and the Horn of Africa in particular. But above all, as I said, the lives of 905,000 refugees in Ethiopia is at risk. Some of them are from Somalia, and there is involvement of the Somali government in Ethiopia. I don't mean in this war, but in the informal relationship with Abiy Ahmed. But the main thing is the lives of the 250 or more thousand refugees, Eritrean refugees in Tigray. So the Eritrean diaspora are trying their best. I want to thank them. They are trying to stop the war, mainly the involvement of Isaias. In fact, from the Netherlands and all Europe and other countries, they are trying their best. But still, it's not too late, and we have to act. That is what I can say about it.
The aerial bombardment at your university yesterday, on Monday, are you concerned about the students who come from all over the country, and also some foreigners outside, coming from outside Ethiopia?
Not only the students, it's the Minister of Education who hired the hundreds of Indians that we are having. We have Nigerians, we have Americans, we have people from all over the world. And most of them were in office during that time. We have students from Uganda, from Somalia, from all over Africa, and some other parts of Africa also, some other European countries. We have this student-teacher exchange, and I can say that this is a university, and many people from all over the world are conducting research, and we are having teaching learning process of the graduating classes also. but at around midday, at around 11 or so, there was an attack from Ethiopian Air Force on the compound of Mekelle University. And there is one church around it, and it was also attacked. So, I mean, if there is a problem in Tigray, we could appeal to the federal government, because this is a federal government university. But at the same time, the people of Tigray and the government of Tigray are trying to make protections, but the federal government, the so-called, is attacking the university, its own university.
As it attacked the sugar factory, and also the
Takaza hydroelectric power, and billions of dollars were allotted to construct all this. And for the last 27 years, we have invested hundreds of millions of dollars to construct Mekelle University. And had it been a foreign aggressor, I think you could have some justifications for it. Had they been properties of the regional government also, you could say something about it. But they are owned by the federal government. They are constructed by the federal government. And the Ethiopian Air Force is attacking all these infrastructures where human beings are also living. It's not only the infrastructure, we have people there. So that is what makes the situation very complicated. And in such a process, other countries out of Ethiopia and other countries out of Africa are also getting involved for such a purpose, to attack a university, to attack a sugar factory, and to attack hydropower. So that is why I said it's time for rethinking. Mainly, I think we have to feel responsible, the global society, generally, the international organizations have to feel responsible for. If we are not acting on it, it means that we are endorsing it, and that's very concerning. Yeah.
Countries that are not involved in this war, neighboring Ethiopia, have also been concerned, and have been, bracing for any possible exodus from Ethiopia to their countries. What can the neighboring countries do in terms of, mitigating this refugee crisis?
Yeah. So still consistent enough with that of the European reaction, I think. There are two ways, two possibilities. The first thing is to prevent it. So they have to come to dialogue, and for example, Sudan is receiving more than 10,000 refugees per day. But it can have a part in the peace-dealing process because it is the nearest country to Tigray, to Eritrea. Isaias was traveling so many times to the Sudan. I don't know what's the point of discussions that they had. I am not sure whether it was, I don't believe that Sudan was part of the process, but at least it has to be part of the peace-dealing process. And the same is true to Kenya, the South Sudan, Djibouti, and so on. As neighboring countries, as people who are sharing the same values, historical backgrounds, and so on, they can have, it may be through the IGAD or through the African Union, they have to deal with the peace dealing process. That is one thing, and the main thing, it can save the lives of hundreds of thousands of people. If not, as I said it, all of these countries will be destabilized. And for their own sake, not only for the people of Ethiopia or the people of Tigray, they have to get prepared for that also. I mean, whether they fence the borders or not, millions of people will flee from Ethiopia into the neighboring countries, and then to Libya, and then to Egypt, and then to Italy, and so on. So that is how it will be destabilized. So the shortest and the feasible approach is to try their own best through all possible means so that the war declared by Abiy Ahmed and Isaias Afwerki can be stopped as soon as possible, so that they can come to negotiations and discussions. That will be the only solution.
Professor Kunfe Abraha, demographer and director of the Institute of Population Studies at Mekelle University, thank you for these very informative reflections.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Well, we have come to the end of the interview. Thank you for watching, and this is goodbye from me and the technical crew.